All right. Hello, friends, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Our Life, Beginnings and Always. Not gonna lie to you, I was just recording for a different series that I'm doing here on YouTube, and it went so poorly. I'm upset, and I'm using Our Life as a way to lift my spirits back up. So, with that being said, let's do some charity. I think this is about the charity dinner that Cove was talking about earlier for Orca, but I'm not 100% sure, so let's hop into it. Sun beamed in through your window, warming your skin as you lay comfortably on your bed. With your arm hovering in the air, you held your phone above your face, squinting against the sun to read the latest text Cove had sent through. He was out with a group he volunteered with, Orca, doing some kind of activity. They'd been at it since early that morning, and he'd been keeping you updated by messenger. The latest one explained how he'd just finished cleaning up the beach and was now heading over to man a stall on the shopping street to sell tickets for a fundraising dinner. Before then, he wanted to call. You didn't mind that, and replied, saying as much. As you waited for it to come in, you let out a big breath, thinking of the formal dinner that Orca organized. Being a completely fundraising-focused event for large donors, it was crucial for the organization's projects in the year to come. That's why Cove had been so busy lately. All you had heard about so far was that it was a prim and proper occasion with speeches and everything. And then the notification popped up. Incoming call. You picked up immediately. Hi.
Sorry.
Hey, Kit. My voices are on. I can't live like that. Hold on. I can't do it. So I'm playing this with a friend in the background. She's in step 2, so we're fine. We don't have to worry about me getting spoilers for this series based off of that, but she enjoys having the character voices on. I don't, so that was your little bit of Cove in his voice. Anyway, hey Kit. Sorry I don't have a lot of time to talk, but this is my chance, so, you know. I hope you can pull yourself away from your beloved beach. It sounds like you're doing a great job. And for a really good cause. It's nothing, really. I enjoy the work. It feels good to help out. Do you want to come by to see me? At the booth, I mean. Sure. Okay, cool. See you soon. It's just down on the shopping street. You'll see it. Alright, bye. See you. That could have been a text. After the temporary goodbyes, you tucked your phone away and pushed yourself up from your bed. Heading downstairs, you found Ma lounging in the living room, seated on the couch with her legs tucked up and a magazine in her lap. She looked up at the sound of your footsteps, giving you a smile. Hey, sweetie. What are you up to? Cove just finished his first Orca activity. He's going to the shopping street to sell tickets for their fundraising dinner. I'm going to meet him there. Good idea. That sounds wonderful. She nodded happily, and then her face fell a little as she put her magazine to the side. I'm still sad your mom and I can't make it to the dinner that night. She seemed honestly disappointed, but her face brightened again when she looked at you next. You'll be going, right? I can buy the ticket for you if you don't have enough. What's the price? Thanks, but Cove hasn't mentioned how much it is. I'll check it out when I'm there. Perfect. Let me know how it goes. You agreed with a nod, walking backwards towards the door. Thanks, sweetie. Have a good walk. And tell Cove I said hello. I will. Bye, Ma. Strolling out the front door, you shut it behind you and let out a deep breath. You had known that the event was coming up and that you'd most likely be going to support Cove, but you hadn't thought about it too much before now. With a small nod to yourself about everything you'd have to do, you began to walk to the shopping street. You hit the shopping street and casually walked along beneath the afternoon rays, window shopping and browsing through the various stalls that were set up around the place. It didn't take long until you spotted Cove's bright seafoam hair behind a counter and the banner advertising the fundraising event. He caught your eye as you headed over and stood from his seat with a smile, pleased to see you arrive. He stood still, gaze stuck on you, waiting until you approached the counter. You came right up to the front of the booth, inspecting the little plush sea animals that decorated it, that's cute, before turning your smile on Cove. Kit. Hi. Hopefully you're not out of tickets already. Hey, you made it, and not yet. Have you settled in and everything? He nodded, taking a quick survey of the simple booth. I appreciate getting to take a seat for a while. The beach was great, but it's nice to be off my feet for 5 seconds. He chuckled. You were glad to see that despite all the work he'd been doing, he was in high spirits. He seemed to really be enjoying working with the charity. So, how much are the tickets for the event? He hesitated for a moment, rubbing at the back of his neck awkwardly. They're $150. I only found out today. On one hand, that's a little bit high. On the other hand, it is rather formal, and it's supposed to be for, like, high society people, from what I understand. So it kind of makes sense, but also it's a little bit high for your average person who's going to be walking down this street. Are all the tickets the same price? Why would they be different? Yeah, they are. Cove shrugged, glancing down at his clipboard as he answered. It's definitely not something I would normally be at, but it seems to fit the type of people who are into that kind of thing. Exactly, yeah. Most people that have bought tickets wrote a check for it. I've never written a check for anything before. You laughed briefly and shook your head at him, and upon seeing the look on your face, he trailed off and cleared his throat softly. A couple of people did have cash, though, but yeah, that's the answer to your question. Still, I'd really like for you to be there. I'll get you a ticket so you wouldn't have to worry about that. You just have to come. Are you paying $150 just for me to come to charity dinner? You will? Group members get to bring a guest? No, we only get entry for ourselves, and it's only people who volunteer a certain number of hours, or if they're actually part of the team running it. So basically, I'm gonna buy it for $150 is a lot of money, Cove. That's a lot of money, Cove. I can't let you do that. It's too expensive to be a gift. Come on, please let me get it for you. You're still supposed to be my guest. I want to donate anyway. This is a chance to do it. Are you really planning on donating $150? Yeah, if you're sure. He nodded, a smile slowly breaking across his face at your acceptance. What matters to me is that you're there. You would pay $150. I'm not going to be able to get over it. That's so much money. He glanced over his shoulder quickly before turning back to you, his lips tilting mischievously at the corners. I'm not supposed to, but if you want, you can sit behind the counter and keep me company while I sell tickets. Sure. Which I guess is this one. You didn't have anything else planned for the afternoon, so it could be fun to hang out. The afternoon passed by in a blur, with you and Cove laughing and chatting in between ticket sales. As the time drifted on and the sun sank lower in the sky, 6 p.m. finally rolled around, and you helped him get everything packed up to call it a day. As you headed back home together, you thought of the fundraising dinner and how close it was now. There was still plenty to do before the big night arrived. The days continued on in a normal flow, and before long, the night of the Orca fundraising dinner was upon you. It was early evening, and you were still in your room getting ready as the minutes ticked closer and closer towards the time you needed to leave. That's so cute. I could pick up my own outfit, or I could have Liz help me, or I could have Cove help me, or I could have both of them help me. I think I'm good. It was kind of peaceful not having anyone else around to rush you. You knew you had to get going before it was too late, but at least this way you could hear yourself think. The event had strict guidelines, and you wouldn't be let in unless you were dressed to code. That meant having to find a truly professional outfit, but one that you were also happy with. I guess I want to be practical about it. It was going to be quite a long evening, so you wanted to make sure you were dressed comfortably while still sticking to the letter of the code. Your nose wrinkled in thought as you rifled through the options, silently weighing the pros and cons of each. Taking a deep breath to refocus yourself, you looked over the options one last time. It was time to decide on an outfit, and quick. You chose a button-down shirt and pants. Standing in front of your mirror, you quietly assessed your outfit. Sure, what accessories do we have? It needed a little something extra to finish it all off. Personally, I think it needs a blazer or a jacket, but rummaging through the rest of your wardrobe, you picked out what you needed to complete your outfit. A jacket? No. Damn it. I'll take a vest. It was a formal event after all, and you couldn't think of a better time to wear it. And I love a good necklace. Taking your best necklace from your jewelry box, you turned back to the mirror and clasped it around your neck. And that's it. Yes, a tie would be nice. Hold on, I've really got to think this outfit through. A vest and a tie? Technically speaking, it's a button-up, so what the hell did I do? That's back. If it's a button-up, I can't wear a necklace, so I guess just a tie. Standing in front of the mirror, you loop the tie around itself a couple of times before pulling tightly and securing it in place. We're gonna be fancy. And that's everything, though. And with that, you were ready to go. Finally, you were dressed. It had all come together. Cove sent through a text saying he was heading to the car and would see you in a little bit. You carefully headed down the stairs and into the living room, where your moms were waiting for your appearance. What do we think? Am I snazzy? Do I look good for a charity fancy dinner? As you entered, they both stood from the couch and came over to you, smiling broadly. You look so wonderful, Kit. And very mature, too. Nice work, kid. Thanks. They continued to coo and fuss over you until you managed to brush them off. Ma took Mom by the arm and held her close, the two of them admiring you proudly. Thank you. How do you like my outfits? Another round of praise began, and you smiled happily to yourself. It was nice being so lauded. Ma came in to give you one last hug, and before you knew it, another pair of arms was wrapped around you, and then a third. Both Mom and Liz giggled as they hugged you tight. We hope you have so much fun tonight. We won't wait up for you. Stay out as long as you need. You're old enough now. With a last wave goodbye, you left your family and approached the front door. It was time. Stepping out into the night, you closed the door behind you gently and looked out across the street. What is that I spy? Cove Olden? Gasp! Cove was standing there in the street. His eyes met yours immediately, as if he had been watching your house for the moment you would come out. He smiled bashfully. Hey, Kit. Hey, stranger. Barely recognize you. He took the chance to check over his outfit as he walked across the way to meet you. It was formal for sure, though it didn't feel overly posh. It made sense for him and was honestly a sight for sore eyes. He was always beautiful to you. Lame. I'm gonna jump out the window now. He looked you over as well, a subtle blush creeping over his face as he quickly cleared his throat and averted his eyes, or his gaze, whichever one you want. He seemed to be struggling to find something to say, rubbing at the exposed part of his arm awkwardly. Thank you for coming with me and for dressing really nicely for this. Your outfit it's good. Like, better than good, really. Great, I guess? Something else? So, yeah. Thank you. You were relieved that your outfit had his seal of approval. Then he shook his head, glanced back towards the garage, and, throwing a thumb over his shoulder, spoke. We should probably get going. Wouldn't want to be late to such a grown-up event, right? Yeah, let's go. You headed over to Cove's car together, hopping in and strapping on your seatbelts. You were on your way. The event was being held at a place you had never been to before. You brought up the location on your phone to help Cove navigate there. It took some time to find the right address, and once you were there, you were met with the task of finding a parking spot. Though you were on time, it seemed like everyone else had already showed up and claimed the spaces. Eventually, you found a suitable place before realizing that it required payment. Cove covered the amount. He just buys fucking everything, taking a ticket from the machine and leaving it on the dashboard of the car. Ooh, okay, snazzy. Despite the small holdup, you managed to ultimately make it to the event and confirm you were on the guest list before being shown into the dining area. Cove whistled low as he looked around, taking in the extravagance of the room. Chandeliers hung from the ceiling, and the entire place was decked out with beautiful oceanic displays. You were stunned yourself. It was extremely high class, even more so than you had already expected. Could be worse. No, it's nice. You had to be impressed by the work that had gone into making everything look this lovely and how everyone had dressed up in their best outfits for the night. Seeing Cove smile as he took in the sights made you think he must be feeling the same way. The sound of Cove's name being called out echoed over the din of the room. When you looked around, there were a couple of unfamiliar people coming your way. They headed over to greet Cove, giving you both a welcoming smile and hello. We're glad to see you can make it, Cove, especially after all the hard work you've done to help make this night happen. Definitely, I wasn't gonna miss it. You must be Kit. Cove has mentioned you often. Still? Really? It's so nice to finally meet you. He has, huh? Well, I hope I live up to the legend. Oh, that's such a good line from me. 10 out of 10, I love myself. When you looked at Cove for confirmation, you saw he was running his toe along the ground, his face flushed red. Kit and I, we've known each other a long time, since we were just kids. That's wonderful. There's nothing like old friends. Yeah. Cove, we have to thank you for everything you've done for Orca. You're always welcome to join in on more activities when they come up. You too, Kit, if you ever decide that's something you're interested in. You nodded your head in understanding, giving a small smile. Well, we'd both better head off to greet the other guests. It was lovely speaking with you. You all said your goodbyes, and they faded off into the crowd, leaving you and Cove on your own once more. Cove shrugged then, eyes darting around the place with an awkward look. I guess we should talk to more people. There isn't much else to do at an event like this. You found your way into groups of people who were standing around chatting while some light music played in the background. Servers with large silver trays were gliding between the guests, offering drinks and, I don't know that word, canapes? Canapes? Cove was clearly hesitant to actually approach the people, but was able to respond when various people greeted him first. Me. You were enjoying talking to so many different people, both guests and members of the organization alike, and found yourself enjoying the company. The sound of a microphone crackling came from the podium at the other end of the room. Someone who you assumed must be the host for the evening was asking everyone to sit down in preparation for the meal and speeches. You and Cove looked for your table, finding it easily enough by the little name cards that were placed delicately besides the napkins. I guess it's good that we're sitting near each other because, like, would we have had tickets? You would have gotten a free ticket. Did you buy my ticket and say that I had to sit next to you? Right? Anyway, there were a few others at the table as well, though they weren't anyone that you recognized. The host was still speaking as people were settling, starting off the speeches by giving a welcome to everyone attending. She went on to provide some more information about Orca, which you suppose was for the guests who weren't part of the organization, and the purpose for the fundraiser tonight. Orca's goals, as she explained it, were to aid in the conservation and restoration of oceans and beaches. There were many people who had helped to make the group as successful as it was. When she read off a list of several volunteers who worked on making the event happen, Cove's name was one of the first to come up. "Ooh, damn, you're even high on the list?" His cheeks flushed with shy pride at that. As she continued on to thank the large donors for the event, he checked over at Cove. He was still grinning happily to himself and tapping his fingers over the tops of his knees, pretty pleased to have been mentioned by name. You laughed quietly at his reaction. It was good to see all his hard work paying off, but his giddiness was also funny. While the host continued speaking, multiple servers dressed in black were setting the first course of the menu in front of guests. I hope it's salmon. Tilapia? Oh, that's so fucked. Simple Caesar salad, okay? One of the servers set down a plate in front of you, and you thank them quietly before looking over the dish with interest. You recognized the dish as a simple Caesar salad. The host quickly wrapped up the end of her speech, thanking everyone once more, before inviting you all to begin your meal. Anyone who had included a special dietary note when signing up for the event received a vegan or vegetarian version of a Caesar salad. I guess I could understand vegan. Vegetarian Caesar salad. And there were also small baskets of bread set around the table. You ate both the salad and the bread. Cove wolfed down his salad before munching into a breadstick, quickly devouring that as well. I hope the next part comes out soon and is bigger. You could hear him mumbling to himself as he reached over for another piece of bread. He glanced around the table and you followed his line of sight with curiosity, noting that everyone else was still eating the salad. Stopping his hand midair, he quickly pulled back and rested it on his lap without taking another breadstick after all. It was clear that he was starting to feel unsure of himself, and he looked a little out of place here. He folded his arms and turned away from them to you. That was a sentence. Hey, did you like the salad? It was Caesar. How do I generally feel about Caesar salads? It's my preferred salad. It's really good. I can't wait to see what else they serve. Salmon. Tilapia. His gaze remained purposefully tunneled on you, as if he was trying not to even think about what the rest of the table might be doing. No. No! What the hell? You picked up a breadstick and gave it to Cove. It's okay. Oh, thank you. Cove spoke gently as he took the bread from your hand, looking choked up by your reassurance. You can have bread. He munched away on it happily, seemingly much more at ease. It wasn't much longer until the main course was arriving, and the various chicken, steak, and veggie dishes were being served throughout the room. Darn! An array of scents wafted through the room, making your mouth water. You had probably chosen the steak. Listen, we paid $150 to be here. It was nice that you had been given the option of how you liked your steak cooked, and the meal on the plate in front of you seemed perfectly to your taste. Cove had also gone for the steak, and once he started it again. Alright, Looney Tunes, get out of here. He is completely absorbed by his meal. No. It just... Okay, continue on. It was going to be a full evening, so you wanted to try eating something while you could. Dinner eventually ended, and last of all was dessert. A lemon sorbet that had been partially dyed blue. The mix of white with bold streaks of blue made the little scoop look like a ball of roaring ocean waves. The The effect was very pretty, but the serving size was small. Perhaps it was the price to pay for artistry. You turned to Cove to find him pouting a little at the size of it. Digging into the dessert, it took him only a few bites to polish it off. Again, the other people around the table had barely even begun eating. An unimpressed air settled over him as he sat back in his chair, sipping at his water unhappily. We can get McDonald's after this if you want. We can get more dessert later. That's kind of what I said. Do you want my dessert? Because I don't like lemon. I like lemonade, but in a dessert? Sounds weird. You gave him an encouraging smile. He looked up at you sheepishly, embarrassed to have been caught sulking over such a thing. He fumbled for a defense. It was just really good, that's all, and now it's gone. But I'm okay. With a slight grin, he shrugged to show that he was really fine. Do you want my dessert? You pushed the dish towards him, and his eyes widened in surprise. He looked down at the dessert and then back at you, as if wordlessly asking if you were really sure. I don't like lemon. Take it. Okay, you can have it. He hesitated a moment more before pulling the sorbet in front of him, a small smile tugging at his lips. Thanks, Kit. You're welcome. He scooped up a spoonful of the treat and put it in his mouth, humming happily. He felt satisfied knowing he'd enjoy it much more than you would. You leaned back in your chair, looking around quietly. After a moment or two, you felt Cove giving you a sidelong glance. Yes? He then took another spoonful of the faux ocean and held it up for you. Your stomach began to flutter, and not from the prospect of sorbet. I don't like lemon. You hecker. I will take one bite. Leaning forward, you ate the dessert off of a spoon, enjoying the bright, citrusy taste on your tongue. Wrong. It's good. Yeah. Another person from Orca got up on stage to make a speech as everyone was nearing the end of their meal. They spoke mostly about the individual projects that the organization was working on and their plans for the near future, as well as encouraging anyone who was interested to consider volunteering. Cove bent forward over the table with his chin balanced on a hand, listening attentively to the words. As they came to a conclusion and everyone gave them a round of applause, Cove caught your eye and smiled. You wondered what would happen now. And then the lights dimmed. A couple of spotlights came on, projecting a water light effect around the room. The guests gushed over the ambiance, and you looked around with wide eyes at the ripples on the walls. The DJ that had previously been playing some soft mood music in the background announced that the floor was open for dancing, slowly turning the volume up so it drifted through the space. When you glanced at Cove, his eyebrows had shot up, and he mumbled quietly. I didn't know there would be dancing. I guess it makes sense now that I think about it. Your shirt has changed. Your face has changed. The water ripples are all over you. Wow. This game is so good with the little details. He gave an awkward laugh as you both watched people rose from their seats. It was clear now that many of the donors were couples. A small crowd had started to form on the dance floor, and the DJ played a romantic song to get everyone started off. Cove let his gaze float over the small set of guests. He seemed lost in thought. A serious expression had settled on his face, making his eyebrows dip. Slowly, he turned to you. Though there was something cautious in his approach. Would you want to dance with me? I don't like dancing. You're really off to a good... I can't even say off to a good start. You're having the best night of your life, Cove. His face lit up. You could tell even beneath the dim light. He nodded for... What was my other option? What could I have said? Oh, no. He nodded firmly as he rose from his seat, though you noticed his hands shaking at his sides. You walked out onto the floor together, hesitating a little when you turned and stood face to face. Cove had a hard time meeting your eyes, but he lifted a hand for you to take, unsure of what else he was meant to do. Great. Taking his hand, you took the lead and whispered to him, "We'll be fine." It took some doing, but amidst your nervous laughter, you managed to find a comfortable enough position and set a rhythm to the music. It was quite nice after that. Every time your eyes met Cove's, he would look away quickly, but he seemed to be enjoying the dance nonetheless. Eventually, he felt comfortable enough to speak. "A lot has happened, huh?" You nodded faintly. You weren't sure if he meant just today, or this summer, or your entire time knowing each other. But it didn't really matter. It was true either way. Thinking back on the years that you and Cove had been neighbors, it was difficult to try to even reflect on it all at once. "I'm glad we ended up here." He gave you a soft look, and you beamed, knowing that it could also mean many things. But from his tone, you were certain he didn't only mean here, at this event. It was more than that. "We'll have to tell your dad thanks." So am I. The party eventually started to wind down, and at last, it came to an end. When the main lights turned on, you blinked against the brightness of them, making sure you still had Cove in your sights. One final speaker came up to the podium on the stage, thanking all the guests for coming and wishing everyone a good night. It was bittersweet to see it come to a close. Your time with Cove here was precious. At least the memories could be brought with you. Giving the space one more look, you walked together with Cove out to the parking lot. The other guests were doing the same, so you got stuck in a bit of a crowd. Though Cove was so tall you could always see him, and it was easy enough not to get separated. The parking lot itself was quite big, and even more noticeable now with fewer cars blocking the view. It took a little while to actually locate Cove's car across its expanse. Eventually, you found it, and the two of you bundled inside the vehicle and buckled up. The trip home was quiet as you both silently reflected back on the experience. The event had been the biggest night of the year for Orca, and now it was all over, just like that. Outside your window, the surroundings soon became familiar, and you found yourselves back in your neighborhood. Cove pulled the car into his driveway and put it in park before letting out a relieved breath. Home sweet home. Wow. Imagine 8-year-old you saying that. Yeah. After climbing out of the car, you walked slowly down to the road, Cove coming over to stand beside you. You stopped in the middle of the street, right between your house and his, and turned to him, finding him in the process of opening his mouth to speak. Strangely, he clamped his lips together, as though he had suddenly thought better of it. Thank you for taking me tonight. Also, it was quite a night, but thanks for coming with me. Imagining how cute it would be. We've got to try it. You ruffled his hair playfully. He wrinkled his nose a little, giving you a small smile. Night, Kit. I don't know how I could reach that high, but with a last wispy smile, he left towards his front door. Figuring you shouldn't linger in the street for much longer, you crossed the remainder of the road and did the same. When you reached your house, you pulled out your keys and stuck them in the door, trying your best to be silent about it. Opening the door a crack, you turned back and looked at Cove from over your shoulder. Your eyebrows lifted in surprise to see he was doing the same, of course, holding his front door open, but waiting for you to go inside before he did. You shared an amused smile before you both stepped into your own houses, locking the door behind you. It was quite late, so everyone else was already asleep. As quiet as a mouse, you tiptoed up to your bedroom and changed out of your formal clothes into your pajamas. Now that you were finally home, you were exhausted. You brushed your teeth and got ready for bed in darkness before crawling under the covers and letting out a heavy breath. It was still strange to think about how that was it. The build-up to the event had felt like so much, and now it was completely behind you. Your mind was busy with rapid yet muddled thoughts as you faded closer and closer to sleep. As unconsciousness creeped up on you, you felt more content. It was a big deal, but there would be more in the future. You could accept what it had been, and you could dream about what you'd get to experience next. And then you were taken away from your dreams right back to reality by a sound. Let me guess, it's the window. Your eyebrows pinched together, fully unprepared to be a part of the waking world again. The day was over, and it had been an eventful one. But then you heard another noise. It was a tapping. Your eyes flew open. The window. There was a tapping that came from your window. Cove Holden. You went over to let the guy in. You extricated yourself from your bed, yawning. You stretched your arms and then made your way to the window. There was another tap right before you arrived. It's not like I have blinds or anything, dude. You can look right in. I'm coming. When you pulled it wide open, Cove was indeed there. You had not been surprised to find Cove awkwardly crouched on your window ledge. I just hope that you changed clothes because formal clothes are pretty restrictive, and I don't know how you're climbing a building in slacks and a button-down shirt. However, you were taken aback to see that he was a little overdressed. God damn it, I just talked about that. How'd you do this? I don't know, maybe your slacks aren't very tight. I wasn't paying attention. Cove hadn't changed out of his formal clothes. You also noticed that he was perched clumsily. You didn't know if it was because he was trying to keep his fancy clothes clean or if he felt weird about something. His body was too stiff and awkward. Even given that Cove was normally all thumbs, he looked off balance, significantly more than usual. Cove smiled sheepishly. Hi, Kit. Hi. I want to ask why you're here. I also think that you'll tell me eventually. Hi. You moved aside and let him climb inside. He cautiously stepped down by stretching his legs over. Strangely, he didn't use his hands for support. It was clear to you now. He was holding something. How'd you climb a building holding something? When he was safely on his feet, he briefly checked out his clothes, twisting around to see the back of his pants. He caught you looking and shrugged. I did go home after the event, but I knew I wasn't going to be able to settle down, so I just walked right back out. I needed fresh air and time away from everything. He paused for a moment and raised his clasped hands together, where you could see them. But then something happened, and, well, so, I have something I want to show you. Firefly. Cove grinned like a child and gently unfurled his fingers, not being able to keep you in suspense for even a minute. Firefly. There's something about, like, the way that it said he had his hands, like, together, maybe more like this, that it's just, like, the only thing that I can think of that you would catch and bring here would be a firefly. Behold, this moth. I found it at the, lamppost just outside our house. Carefully sitting inside was a tiny yellow light. It blinked off and then on again. A firefly. Delicately, he moved his hand closer so you could see the creature better. They're back. He closed his eyes, his smile now faintly illuminated by his insect companion. Honestly, I didn't think I'd see them this year. I don't know why, it's just they're kind of late and I guess I've been worrying about a lot of stuff lately. You could tell that the firefly genuinely lifted his spirits. He seemed at peace, and he wanted to share that with you. The fact that his first thought after discovering the fireflies was to come over and celebrate the joy with you made you suddenly feel very cherished. He bought a $150 ticket to a charity dinner. Cove opened his eyes, but he looked away, not meeting yours. It's really nice, I think. Even if the fireflies disappear for a while, it doesn't mean they're really gone. They'll come back. I can see them again. I forgot I wanted to try. If I press this button, the text goes away, and it's just Cove Holden now, holding a firefly. I almost said wearing a firefly. Don't know where you wear that, but... that button is H, by the way. I have been pressing so many buttons and not telling you what any of them do. Page up is how you go back. Page down doesn't do anything. Okay. H, as I said, puts the text away. Those are really all that I've discovered so far. You smiled. And then you looked at the firefly keenly. There was definitely something poetic about them. You felt a warmth in your heart. Cove looked at your face, his smile now fragile. It makes me think about the two of us. We're together, then we say goodbye, and then we're together again. Day after day, year after year. And hey, you're getting a little too sappy. Even if our time apart gets longer, that doesn't make it forever. I'll always be there whenever you want to see me. What does that first one say? You what? I don't know that I can do that. I don't know that I'm confident enough for that. You quietly said his name. What? Cove. You're being sappy. You are a crazy person. You couldn't say a word. You stood stock still, stunned. If you hug him, you're gonna squish the firefly. This is not a crying moment. These two just seem weird for the moment. You wished you could do something, but it was impossible. Cove chuckled shyly and rubbed his cheek. The firefly suddenly flew off, blinking once and then twice as it looked for another perch. It went dark, and then you saw it reappear outside your still open window. Cove didn't seem to mind. Farewell. Cove looked at you, affection plain in his face. Go back out the window. Hey, do you want to go out to the hill? The fireflies are still there. Sure. Cove brightened. He was practically bouncing at the thought of a secret excursion before he suddenly became bashful. So how should we leave? We could just try the door. We don't have to do the window thing, but maybe that would bother your family. You both chuckled at how awkward it would be if your moms, or worse, Liz, saw you going on a midnight firefly catching trip. You'd be sure to avoid that. I'm scared about that window. I don't think I could do that. Listen, I would break a leg. You can go out the window, I'll go out the front door. If you want. The door should be fine. My moms don't wake up from people in the living room as long as they're quiet. Cove nodded in understanding. You grabbed some shoes and readied yourself for an adventure. You were glad that there was no way you'd run into another soul outside. Cove would be way overdressed, and you were still in your jammies. Creeping closer to your front door for the trip out, Cove whispered one more question. Should I follow behind you? If you want, which is shrug. You were only walking through your house, something both of you had done countless times. It didn't matter that much. The two of you huddled together and exited your room. You quietly tiptoed down the stairs, wincing when your knee popped. Me! Then froze. It's actually usually my ankles, and they will crack with every step down the stairs. You can tell it's me coming downstairs because you just hear click, 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 click. But I could also understand me popping. Neither of you heard anything further, so you continued to the front door. You unlocked the door slowly and tried to minimize the click of the lock. You took a deep breath and then turned the knob. You let Cove out first and then snuck out into the brisk night air. It was surprisingly cool, but not at all unpleasant. Cove gave you an encouraging smile, but neither of you risked speaking yet. You briskly snuck behind the house and up to the old white poppy hill. And Cove was right. The entire hill was lit up, insects twinkling here and there with their pale yellow lights. Cove let out a contented sigh, finally able to relax in full. He strode further up the hill to better enjoy the view. You walked along as well, letting yourself be surrounded by the twinkling display. Then, without warning, Cove plopped onto his back. He paid no mind to smacking his formal attire in the grass. He put an arm under his head and stretched the rest of his limbs out. He was clearly getting quite comfortable in the dirt there. You sat down. You looked down and found a soft-looking spot to sit. You brushed some of the longer grass aside and settled in. I wonder if Dad will be mad about the grass stains. Your shirt's black, your pants are black. Should be fine. He tugged at the collar of his shirt. He didn't sound concerned, just idly curious. At least they're dark. If you're lucky, he won't be able to tell. His smile bent a little, and it went silent between you. The only sounds were the rustling of bugs in the breeze and the faraway crashes of waves on the sea. You challenged him to a rolling race down the hill. Now let's continue watching the fireflies. It was easy to be swept away by the atmosphere. Fireflies and stars all glowing in the night, and white poppies glittering by their light. The view brought back precious childhood memories. Both of you were determined to take in as much as you could. You smiled with contentment as the fireflies danced. The hour grew late, and the fireflies mostly dispersed until only a few stragglers remained. Then, even they blinked out of sight, leaving you alone with Cove and your thoughts. It felt as though this was a night that would never end, but you knew it would have to, all too soon. You were only grateful to have been a part of it. These were moments to treasure, and you already knew you'd be remembering them for a very long time. Okay, that was longer than I expected it to be, but also weirdly felt too short. Like, I thought that it was just going to end after the charity dinner, and we weren't going to have that firefly moment. But then I wanted more of the firefly moment. Anyway, we're at 50 minutes of recording right now. Probably not enough time to go for a drive. But it feels kind of weird because the further we've been going through this story, the longer the moments have been. And it used to be that I could do 2 or 3 per episode, and then consistently 2. And now these are like, well, 1 doesn't quite fill up an episode, but 2 makes it too long. It's just kind of an awkward mix here. But I think what I will do is I'll just make the episodes shorter. It seems more fair to have, let's say, 45-minute episodes rather than hour and 15, hour and a half episodes, just for going forward. Who knows? And it could be that one of these other ones only takes 30 minutes and the next one only takes 30 minutes and we're back to our hour thing, but we'll see. If what I'm recording, I look at the time and it's only been 45 minutes, I'll stop it there. But if it's been less than that, I'll continue going, right? Anyway, yeah, I feel better. Listen, we walked into this episode going, I'm feeling kind of down, and now I'm like, okay, I could take on the world. I want to do another one, but I have to end this episode here. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you join me next episode as we go for a drive.